it. That's why I love you so much, Nick.
Oh, that's a description of love.
Time for stories to start your morning. Yesterday...
No, I did love seeing this.
Kevin Durant hopped on the gram, posted a couple of pictures of his rehab from his torn Achilles. Check him out. Shooting some hoops in the pool. All right, Chris, what's going to be the hardest part of KD's recovery?
That's what I'm talking about right there. This is exciting for me because I believe this is his biggest challenge of his career. I believe he is going to respond to it. You could see with some of the movement that they're doing. That's why I've been consistent with this. The cutting-edge medicine and the recovery aspect, it's totally different than what guys went through a number of years ago. Kevin Durant will be back. Man, from this Achilles injury, you see him up around, you see his jump shot, him still shooting. The scenery right there, of course, is second to none. I'm glad he shared this with us, man. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Durant, and I want to see the easy sniper money. What's his name?
Easy money sniper.
Yeah, that dude, too. Yeah, him, too. I'm excited about it.
I'll be very quick here. When Chris says he'll be back, Chris means he believes he can be back in February of this coming season. That played the 8 months from injury, that's a realistic, not a guarantee or anything, but that is a realistic timetable to see Kevin Durant this year, which for the Nets would shake up the Eastern Conference playoff picture enormously.
I wonder where in Brooklyn that was. That is beautiful.
I don't think it was in Brooklyn.
Yesterday, Tobias Harris said that the Sixers are for sure at the top of the Eastern Conference. However, he may be a little bit biased considering the fact that the Sixers gave him $180 million this offseason. Nick, is Philly the best team in the East?
No, but they are, they are nipping at Milwaukee's heels, and they could be the best team in the East. Milwaukee's got a question in the backcourt, which is they paid Eric Bledsoe early. That prevented them from paying Malcolm Brogdon. They brought back George Hill. They might have let their best backcourt player go. How much can they overcome that loss since they did bring back essentially everyone else? Philly's a question of fit. They lost their best shooter in Redick. They obviously lost their closer in Jimmy Butler. They bring in Horford. They bring in Josh Richardson. But, of course, Tobias Harris going to think this. And Tobias Harris, remember, he turned down $80 million a year ago, bet on himself, turned that 80 into 180, so he's feeling great about everything right now.
Yeah, well, they'll be dependent on him to be the potential second scorer for them. You get in the playoffs, we've seen Ben has struggled the last 2 years, but I challenge Ben Simmons. Man, release a video, man. Release some video you working on your game, man, outside of
Kevin Durant
the restricted
he's got
area.
one leg. You're right. You know what? You're right. You're right. You made a good point.
Release some video, bro.
That's a good point. All right, on to the NFL. The AFC West is loaded with elite quarterbacks. You got Patrick Mahomes. You got Phillip Rivers. You got Derek Carr. Well, Joe Flacco was in Denver trying to get back to that list. Says he's got a lot left in the tank. CC, how good can Flacco be for the Denver Broncos?
John, who picked the quarterback?
John Elway.
Oh, okay. Anytime Elway picking the quarterback, man, I got problems. I believe Denver's defense got the potential to be nasty, but I don't see Joe Flacco playing at a high level. Change of address is not going to change his skill level. Mile high is not going to help Joe Flacco. He's known for throwing the ball deep. They don't have the receiving core to match his skill level. And Flacco is one of those quarterbacks that has not transitioned from being a pitcher to being I can throw short, I can throw sideways. He just has not transitioned in his career.
I understand the best moment of Joe Flacco's career arguably came against the Denver Broncos, I think it was at Mile High, the Jacoby Jones touchdown, or not the Jacoby Jones touchdown, but the touchdown against the Broncos. I think it was Raheem Moore, the safety, who misplayed the ball on their Super Bowl run.
Yes,
but
the Mile High miracle.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, that Joe Flacco does not exist anymore. I don't know if it ever existed outside of that playoff run. All the numbers say since that season, he's been the worst everyday starter in football. That's not going to change in Denver.
All right,
They should stay with your guy, Case.
Yeah, see? I knew that sentence would eventually be uttered. Last season, then Browns head coach Hugh Jackson was fired after starting the season with just 2 wins in their first 8 games. After Hugh was fired, the team won 5 games, and Baker Mayfield took off. Well, yesterday, Hugh was on the herd and was asked if Baker's recent comments bother him. Here's what he had to say.
It doesn't bother me personally because, again, I've been in the National Football League for a long time, and I've seen a lot of different ways that people have handled things. He has to do what he feels he needed to do, and so that's how he's handled it. Again, everybody's going to handle things differently. That's how he chooses to make sure that he's ready to go, ready to play, or has his team ready to play. And again, the Browns wasn't playing Hugh Jackson. They were playing the Bengals. So at the end of the day, whatever that was for him and their football team on those particular days, it worked. They won the game.
Look, CC, Baker Mayfield is a different cat. He just is than the guys we've seen coming out in the last couple of years. He's brash, he's confident, he's young, he knows he has a lot to learn, but he walks in as if he's already learned a lot of it. Are there any drawbacks to a guy whose style is that when you're going into year two?
I think when you're trying to have a long career, you can't project out there what you're going to look like when you get 30 and how things are going to sound when you were younger. So, yes, there can be negative from that. But I think that right now in life, it's really, really hard to be true to yourself. And professional sports is very, very difficult. And then, man, there are a lot of successful people out there. But most of the time, people don't make suggestions about other people's lives that are successful. Your brother, successful doctor. People don't call him up. You know something? You know what you should be doing? We got 3 or 4 new procedures. You need to be continuing your education. You know what? They accept his expertise. And Baker Mayfield is one of the rare breeds that we have. There's only 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. 32 of these guys in the world. And Baker is special even in that group. So among special guys, he's even special. But this is his personality. Those who have coached him, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem, just like the quarterback shouldn't look a certain way. He doesn't have to talk a certain way. He doesn't have to be a certain height for me. Now we're seeing with Arizona, with their chance that they're taking. No. In this day and age where you can protect the quarterback, you cannot brutally beat up the quarterback in the NFL. Now he can be any size. With the millennials now in the NFL, he can't have any type of personality. All these new young coaches we have, you think they can't relate to him? Also, one thing we don't know. We don't know what Hugh said to Baker when he was there. We don't know actually how he was coached. Because Baker, I know Baker thought he should have been the starter from the beginning. So when he didn't put him in there, he put Tyrod in there. Did he hold Baker back? And immediately once Baker begins to start, the guy who wouldn't start me, he happens to be on the opposition. Oh, I'm getting ready to knife him. I can understand the personality. That's how you can play a long time in this league. I know Hugh has coached a long time, a little bit as a head coach, and none of that was successful except for drafting Baker, which wasn't his call. That was the general manager's call in Dorsey. So I got a lot of respect for Baker trying to be true to who he is and carve out his own career. Because in sports, it's the only career where you're an expert, but people are always telling you what you should be doing.
And I think we do this isn't just in sports, but I'll use the sports example. I think we do a bad job assuming something that is impossible, which is we can take someone's personality, keep all the good things, and then carve away at some of the things that can be prickly. This was one of my things, whether you agree or disagree, in some of the defenses of Odell. When it's like, okay, we want the excitement, the competitive spirit, the exuberance on the field, but let's carve away some of the mayhem it causes. Baker, I talked to Mina Kimes yesterday. Mina wrote the article that so many of these quotes have come from. She spent a week with Baker Mayfield. You know what she said? Man, his leadership is seductive. Chris Carter spent 10 minutes with him, shook his hand, said he's a different type of cat.
And not strange, just unusually good.
And unusually confident, unusually charismatic. Hugh Jackson said that when he walked into the building, this is a couple of years ago, that he would make that laugh sound or whatever, and then everyone would do it. Everyone that's been around Baker has been very consistent that he has this intangible leadership quality that is unique to him. For people to assume that you can then strip away some of what you could call tribalism, which is you're either with me or against me. Okay, hey, Duke Johnson, even you're on the team, but you're not here. Bleep you. Colin Cowherd, don't like you either. Hugh, you were here. And keep that unique and almost generational leadership. I think that's naive. And so, yeah, I think he will step in some potholes, but I think it's this personality that has allowed a 5-foot or a 6-foot kid that had to walk on it multiple places to have the success that he's had. So you got to take the good with some of the potential bad with this type of person, I believe.
I think you make such a good point. I think if Odell was in a winning culture and a winning team, we wouldn't have seen some of the negative things as much or focused so much on it. But what happens if things go sour? And I happen to like the confidence that Baker has. I love the confidence Odell had. But if they start losing and things go sour, is he looked upon differently? Do you suddenly want a guy like that to maybe not be running around sticking a flag in the center of a field?
Pro sports is about performance. It's about getting it done. That's why they keep a scoreboard, because they want to know at the end who won and who lost. In the NFL, how we measure quarterbacks is based on winning football games. His career will be based on that. Not did he take a shot at someone who was on TV saying something about it. I just do believe this. In this day and age, we got a lot of people that say whatever they want to about athletes. I don't have no problem with the athletes, that being Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Baker Mayfield. If they want to defend what they're doing, I think that they should. I think that there's too many guys that have sat around and taken abuse and everything, internalized all that. If you feel a certain way, if you want to call somebody's TV show, radio show, I believe that you should be able to do that. If people got enough guts to be able to open up their mouth to say something, then people should have enough guts to be able to defend it, and that's what they're doing.
And I just think this applies across past sports. Like this show, someone said to you, Jenna, "Hey, we love the goofy joke moments that make everyone laugh, but the ones that don't hit, cut those out." You couldn't. Because you get one with the other. Like at times, I get way too bogged down in the numbers. Like, right? Like there's no question about that. It's a weakness. But at times it's like, wow, I had never heard that. Like there are things that with anyone that brings something in theory elite to the table, right, there's going to be some baggage associated with it. And so I think that's the reality with Baker. And I think that people need to just take that for what it is.
And this jerk here says, oh, his numbers is elite level. And Jenna, your joke telling's elite level.
Right. Hey, Chris is, I didn't want to bring up things Chris don't do well, so I just leave it alone. He already knows.
You think some of my jokes are goofy?
Well, I just think.